Hello there. It's time for another story. I swear I don't wear the same shirt on purpose, but, well, this is coming from a new book. Not new, one I haven't read yet. Kissing the Witch by Emma Donoghue. It's pretty different in terms of the type of tale. So, let's go in. This is going to be the tale of the apple. Alright. The maid who brought me up told me that my mother was restless. She said I had my mother's eyes, always edging toward the steep horizon, and my mother's long hands, never still. As the story went, my mother sat one day beside an open window looking out over the snow, embroidering coronets on a dress for the christening of the child she carried in her womb. The maid warned her that she'd catch her death if she sat in the cold, letting snow drift in and sprinkle her work. My mother didn't seem to hear, or she didn't seem to care. Just then, the needle drove itself into her finger. 3 drops of blood stained the snow on the ebony window frame. My mother said to her maid, "The daughter I carry will have hair as black as ebony, lips as red as blood, skin as white as snow. What will she have that will save her from my fate?" The maid had no answer, or not one that she could remember. Then the pains seized my mother and carried her away. Though I was so much smaller than she was, I was stronger. I had no reason not to want to live. It was the maid who cared for me as I grew. Every autumn in her pocket she brought me the first apple from the orchard. This was not the mellow globe that they served my father a month later, but the hardly bearable tang of the first ripening, so sharp it made me shudder. Let it be said that my father did grow to care. That's nice. After the maid, too, died in her turn, he found me wandering the draughty corridors of the castle, and took me up in his stiff, ermine arms. In the summer-time, he liked to carry me through the orchard, jeez, and toss me high in the air, then swing me low over the green turf. He was my toy man and my tall tree. Aw, sweet. As I grew and grew, he bounced me on his lap till our cheeks scalded. But the day there was a patch of red on my crumpled sheet. Ew. Menstruation, I think. Gross. My father brought home a new wife. Odd timing. She was not many years older than I was, but she had already seen one royal husband into the grave already. She had my coloring. Her face was set like a jewel in a ring. I could see she was afraid. She kissed me and spoke sweetly in front of the whole court, but I could tell she would be my enemy. There was only room for one queen in the castle. Yes, I handed this newcomer the ring with its 100 tinkling keys, the encrusted coronet, the velvet train of state, till she was laden down with all the apparatus of power. But it was me the folk waved to as the carriage rattled by. It was me who was mirrored in my father's fond eyes. Mine was the first apple from the orchard. I know now that I would have liked her if we could have met as girls, ankle deep in a river. I would have taken her hand in mine if I had not found it weighted down by the ruby stolen from my mother's cooling finger. I could have loved her if. Her lips were soft against my forehead when she kissed me in front of the whole court, but I knew from the songs that a stepmother's smile is like a snake's, so I shut my mind to her from that very first day when I was rigid with the letting of first blood. Oh, her period still. In the following months, she did all she could to woo my friendship, and I began to soften. I thought perhaps I had misread the tight look in her eyes. Eventually, I let her dress me up in the silks and brocades she had brought over the mountains. It was she who laced up my stays every morning till I was pink with mirth. Last thing at night, it was she who had undid the searing laces one by one and loosed my flesh into sleep. That sounds awful. With her own hands, she used to work the jeweled comb through my hair, teasing out the knots. Not content with all this, she used to feed me fruit from her own bowl, each slice poised between finger and thumb, till I was ready to take it. Is she a baby? Though I never trusted her, I took delight in what she gave me. My father was cheered to see us so close. Once, when he came to her room at night, he found us both there, cross-legged on her bed under a sea of velvets and laces, trying how each earring looked against the other's ear. He put his head back and laughed to see us. "Two such fair ladies," he remarked, having never been seen on one bed. "But which of you is fairest of them all?" Douchebag. He's gonna make them all competitive. We looked at each other, she and I, and chimed in the chorus of his laughter. Am I imagining, in retrospect, that our voices rang a little out of tune? You see, her hair was black as coal, mine as ebony. My lips were red as hers were, and our cheeks as pale as 2 pages of a book closed together. But our faces were not the same, and not comparable. He let out another guffaw. "Ha ha 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 ha! Tell me," he asked, "how am I to judge between two such beauties?" What? This guy is really pushing the issue. I looked at my stepmother, and she stared back at me, and our eyes were like mirrors set opposite each other, making a corridor of reflections, infinitely hollow. My father grinned as he kissed me on the forehead and pushed me gently out of the room, and bolted the door behind me. But as the fool of a year went by, and my stepmother stayed as thin as the day he had first brought her to the castle, my father's mouth began to stiffen. He questioned every doctor who passed through the mountains. He made his young wife drink cow's blood to strengthen her, though it turned her stomach. Finally, he forbade her to go walking in the orchard with me, or lift a hand, or do anything except lie on her back and wait to find herself with child, the child who would be his longed-for son. But wait, this video is too long. Watch the next one to continue the story. Somehow I trusted she would track me down and kill me. Yes!
Look, I'm gonna be in your video.
No, you're not. I'm gonna edit you out.
No.
Maybe I'll put you in the end.
A little blooper.